Hi kids, welcome on the marquee. This month, in honor of Remembrance Day, I'm going to be discussing films that have World War One and World War Two as a backdrop, and also happen to win Best Picture, at the Academy Awards. There's 9 films in total. As I usually do, I'm going to be going through them in chronological order. Some of them were released between the two wars, some of them during the Second War, some of them after the wars. My hope is, in doing it in that way, to highlight how the opinions and views on war changed through time, how that's reflected in the films themselves. So, the first film I'm going to be discussing was originally released January 5th, 1927. It was directed by William A. Wellman and comes from Paramount Pictures. Wellman got the job because he happened to be the only one at Paramount, or the only director at any rate, who had any aviation experience whatsoever. So Wings tells the story of two rival pilots competing for the love of the same woman. Original idea, right? And that woman was played by Paramount's biggest star, Clara Bow. Paramount was very keen to have their biggest star attached to this picture. But Bow, for her part, initially said no. She felt that she wasn't much of a character. She was just a plot contrivance. Can you imagine that? A woman in a movie in Hollywood, and she's just a plot contrivance? Never heard of that. At any rate, the script was reworked, and reworked, and reworked, until eventually Clara said yes. The two actors, the pilots competing, are played by Richard Arlen and Charles Rogers. Charles Rogers at the time was known as America's boyfriend. He was also secretly having an affair with Mary Pickford. Scandal. I think the two of them would eventually marry, and he'd be Mary's third husband. Rogers had no flight experience whatsoever, so he took extensive flight training so that the film could show him in close up really flying that plane. Richard Arlen, on the other hand, had flown in World War One. During World War II, he would go on and act as a flight instructor in the Air Force. Not too shabby. Arlen is someone who worked his way up right from the bottom in Hollywood. Started as a messenger boy. Not too bad. The film is also notable for launching the career of Gary Cooper. Cooper would go on win 2 Best Actor awards himself, the Academy Awards. Star in films like Sergeant York, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Farewell to Arms. Bye, everyone. See ya. So, typically, 1927, the schedule for filming a movie was about a month. But Wings took 9 months to film because of the subject and what was happening in the film. The Air Force had to be involved. They had to be on set. There was hundreds of extras and over 300 pilots. Wellman often disagreed with the Air Force advisors on what could and could not be done. And the budget for the movie was about $2 million, which at the time, adjusted for inflation, would be about $28 million. But I have a feeling if you were to make Wings today, have the Air Force involved in using their planes and things like that, it would be a far larger budget, right? Think of probably the latest Top Gun. The film, the Paramount wasn't too happy with all this money they're spending and how long it's taking. So they sent producers to check out see what's going on. Ultimately, they were satisfied with what was happening, left the production alone. And the film would go on to gross $3.8 million. So almost double its budget, right? Not too bad. And of course, would be nominated for 2 Academy Awards and win Best Picture. In 1929, the first Academy Awards, there were 2 Best Picture nominees that year. One was to recognize the artistic achievement in film, and one kind of like the big story that we all like to watch. So the Academy was trying to recognize art as well as what the audience wanted to see. They were trying to justify both things in the industry, recognize them both. So Wings won the popular vote. Academy Award, by the way, one of the founding members of the Academy was Mary Pickford. Scandal? Maybe a little. Wings would be the measuring stick that all aviation films for a while after would be measured against. Wellman was smart in that he knew he couldn't just film planes buzzing around in the sky. The audience wouldn't see the velocity and the speed at which they're actually traveling. So he had to film them in the backdrop of clouds or the planes flying by each other, which is another reason filming took so long, not too long, because they had to make sure the weather conditions were right. They didn't want anybody getting hurt. People did get hurt. I believe at least one person died. Yeah, that's the first film. 1927. It's a silent film, right? Jazz Singer just comes out that year. So it's silent film. It's black and white film, although there were color tinting processes at the time. Some of that was used in Wings, mostly for the explosions and the fire, right? Highlight those such things. Yeah, and the award was accepted by Clara Bow on behalf of the producers, because the producers always accept the awards. I'm going to do a series on the awards too, by the way. That is Wings. Thanks, guys. Hit like, hit subscribe. See you later.